Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Folks, before we get into it, let's talk about our sponsors, being me. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, both available through Amazon at www.amazon.com/Nicholas Tockert. Look me up, guys. These are the simplest, fastest ways to learn how to sword fight. We're also made possible by Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the RPG. The quick play version may be coming out in a digital format very soon, depending on negotiations, folks. I'm a proud game designer, and this is one of my favorite projects and my bread and butter, folks. The Big Stompy Robots Worlds, where we've got books, games, and a few apps floating around to help you blow each other up in merriment. All right. Hello, everybody. I hope we're hitting things on a Friday high note. Foxy is first in the door, first in again. And 10 minutes ago, I was going through my setup ritual, so I needed a little bit of time to get things rolling. And folks, that is okay. Your favorite digital sword master is here to tell you life is pretty good. What's been up? Well, let me tell you in just a second. Ginger ale. It's almost as good if you wear it as when you drink it. Yes, folks. I've been busy. Got to the doctor. Got a very nice bill of health compared to what it's been. So we're moving up in the world right there. Yes, astute-eyed folks will notice that my glasses have taken a bit of a hit. That happens. I'm working on alternates, so that should be coming soon. Maybe I can get back on brand real soon. But beyond that, Digital Swordmaster. You know, I like to think that like Mr. Rogers had his television neighborhood, I have my Digital Soleil, where I have all you wonderful, eager students and colleagues come together to discuss the ins and outs of putting swords and knives in and out. So, we've got... Well, that means you're doing your job there, Thesis. I don't know if you were expecting to get a rise out of me, but you get a rise out of her. And that's what really matters, folks. Yes, I'm feeling my Wheaties today just a little bit because life is good. Perspective-wise, I was looking back to about a year and a half ago, where I was walking on crutches with assorted braces up to my elbows. Nobody knew what was going on. Life is good. Now, we're joined by the amazing Johnny Cage, one of the most talented artists I have the pleasure to know. And considering the circles I travel in, that's saying something. Johnny, what you do, you are the best at what you do, and what you do is, well, usually R-rated. But we love you anyway, you know. Few people can drain a vein like my buddy Johnny Cage. So glad to have you here. Now, I've had a lot of thought today, a lot of thought this week leading up into what I'm going to discuss. And then I watched a few videos from some of my favorite producers, and I really... see, I'm going to tell you guys a great, terrible secret, Johnny. And you guys, if you want to listen in, you know, grab your booby, the squeezy squares, and do your exercises. I'm not a nice guy. What? No. I want you all to get clear. I am not a nice guy. I am a good guy. The difference being is a nice guy will tell you what you want to hear to make you feel better all the time. Me, I will tell you what you need to hear, and I am totally comfortable with people hating me for telling the truth. And when I say that you're very good at what you do, Johnny, you are very good at what you do. That's lawful good, not lawful nice for you D&D types. See, tomorrow is my little cousin's birthday party. Her birthday was Wednesday, and I'm very considered starting a little training with her. How old is your cousin? The wind, Johnny. The wind. Okay, cool. Let me know. and it's interesting that we're going to get into this because this feeds. One thing I like to catch whenever I can, believe it or not, Doug Marcaida has a wonderful Cup of Joe with Doug Marcaida. It's just a little show. Where he talks about whatever he's thinking about in the mornings, and it can be very inspirational, very educational. All right, and I got you guys. She turned 5. Cool. We will get to it. And he was talking about working with someone he cared about and being concerned about how actual combat and trauma will change the individual. And he was thinking about, he remembered an old story of a samurai. Now, his words will cut. Yeah. Doug Marcaida is not only one of my personal heroes, both as a veteran and, because I am not. I don't want everyone ever thinking that. He is. Anybody who serves our country helps keep us safe is someone I respect. But he is a trainer, and he trains actual combatants. So it's not the kind of BS, ego-floating, mock warrior psychobabble that a lot of guys who want to make people feel tough and make money online say. He talks about the realities and an understanding of violence, of death, of its application, and its ramification on anyone who's engaged in both violence and the taking of a life. I have not directly facilitated the ending of a life. Beyond that definition, it could get real complicated real quick. But, good morning, Joe. But I have spent a lot of time around violence and trauma. And what he was saying is understanding the difference between doing the job and doing the job out of hate. And what the story was, and I am paraphrasing, likely a paraphrase, there was a samurai who was tasked with killing a gentleman. And he studied the gentleman, learned his ins and outs, his behaviors, how he fought, etc., so that when he was ready to fight him, he would be able to do so. Hi, and this gentleman, the day came, and he drew a sword. He said, "I am here to kill you." And the gentleman was so scared, all he could do was spit in the samurai's face, which infuriated him. And the samurai sheathed his sword and walked away and went home to meditate on it. Several days passed, and he appeared before the man. He said, "I've come to kill you. When last we met, you spat on me, and that made me angry. So I went home, and I meditated on it, and I thought on it." And then he struck him down. The moral of the story is a little odd. It's not, do not do harm to your enemy. Because when you're talking the real serious stuff, life and death, sorry, something went flying by. It's not about that. But the trick to part of retaining your soul when you have to engage in violence of any sort is not to do it from a place of anger, but a place of calm necessity. Because on both sides of any major conflict are a bunch of people who realistically are innocent. They're there to do a job they don't want to do, but they're doing it. And if you understand that, hating them gets real close to hating yourself. But it becomes a matter of it. We don't study violence, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm going off book here, to harm others. We study violence to protect those we care about, to keep everyone alive. And that's a big point, because I have to talk about when I teach people to sword fight, even though I tend to teach a very lighthearted, very fun, this is a sport, this is a physical activity, it can be a great way to build confidence. I never want to lose sight of what it represents. And because I tend to, my training overlaps from historical to practical self defense, and delves deep into the realms of situational awareness. We need to be able to take that situational awareness and point it equally inward. So it's not enough to track the threats around you, because you stay aware of what's going on, you'll survive. But you also have to point that inward and really know why you're acting. Are you acting from intelligence or emotion? From training or instinct? This is where knowing what you're doing and why becomes so crucial, because that mentality will let you apply the concept of minimal necessary damage. Okay. So, when you're defending yourself in a life and death, which I hope no one here, if I could wave a wand and know the rest of my life, no one anywhere for the rest of forever would have to defend themselves against violence. There would be no more violence, and what I do is be totally obsolete in this aspect. I die a happy man, but I can't. So what you have to learn is how to train to fight when you're angry and not let it drive you, or to step away when you're angry. Anger is hot. It's very, very close to anger. Is like holding on to hot coals and expecting the other person to get burnt. Holding a hot coal and hoping the other person gets burnt. Yes, is how I've learned it, but not sure if it's exactly. But the other thing is, fighting mad makes you stupid. Being mad, it can be great. It affects how much oxygen you pull in. The hormones it release will let you do things that you normally wouldn't. Your body wouldn't let you be strong enough to do. Being mad is a mind clearer, and it is an addictive status. Being mad for a lot of people, especially men of a certain life experience mentality, being mad as a trauma response is very safe, because when you feel sadness is depowering. It's very often a cooling. It's a still. Sadness breeds an action. It's acting while sad is very, very difficult. Acting while angry is very, very easy, but neither of those mental states was is beneficial. So but to know, you have to know your emotions. I am far more. There are, in my world, 4 types of basic intelligence. Okay, there's a 5th one floating there, and I don't know if that applies here. But you have physical intelligence. Physical intelligence, yes, I know what I can lift. That's why you have physical education. I know what my body can do. I'm working to make it better. I understand how far I can jump, how much I can lift, how long I can run. This is all. There is standard, what we consider intelligence, the ability to process information. Not even necessarily retention, but how you process it, what you can make with it. There is emotional intelligence, Emotional intelligence is knowing how you're feeling, how others are feeling, um, how that interaction works a little bit, but that bleeds into social intelligence, where social intelligence is being able to understand how you operate in a group or in a surrounding. So situational awareness and social intelligence can overlap. That's where social cues, understanding what may be being said with physical uh physical prompts. Now, I will say there is a fifth one, and the fifth one is it's important, but it's dangerous to discuss because it is spiritual intelligence. And that is it's complex, but you know it as you approach it. It's how the energy of your actions shape who you are and how the world feels you and how you interact with things that are very, very deep, matters of faith and feel the world. These are all these five sort of categories easily define an individual, and we have to keep them in mind when we're dealing with not just actual combat but training. Now, I have not lost track of the commentary. It lightens things up a bit, so I want to pull that up in a minute. But if you're fighting for real, make sure you're fighting for the right reason, with the complete understanding of the consequences of your actions, because it's so easy. Humans are resilient and beautiful and powerful, as paradoxically, incredibly, surprisingly fragile things. So it's so easy to unintentionally kill somebody in a combative situation. When you punch a dude, he falls over, hits his head on the counter, done. Caves his brain in. Done. You have to always measure that responsibility when we talk about violence. And I think that's important. And I know it's not chipper stuff, but it does need to be discussed. Because when you are teaching, and see, I told you I'd bring this around. When you are teaching new people, and I teach people to teach others, okay? I don't see myself as the center of the web. If I do my job and I were to do my job perfectly, the chunk of my part of the little interconnected web could get knocked out and the structure would still hold. That is purposeful obsolescence. It's something I strive for in all my students. I want all my students to not only be able to beat me consistently, skill based, but to be able to, through their own way and lens, pass what I learned, what I have imparted on them, and what they've learned through the association on to others. That's how it's a touch of immortality through an idea. Tactical kindness, awareness of life, mindfulness, practicality. This all feeds into a thing. And I think it's important. I want to go back into the comments real quick, and we'll take a break from what I was saying. But just take that bit I've imparted on you and put it on the back burner. Let it percolate. You guys have thoughts on this, please. I've always valued your input. And if not, process, talk amongst yourselves. Get on the guild list, set up a thread, and talk philosophy. It's fascinating, and I love seeing how Foxy was asking how's everyone's week, and we kind of went right off a deep end before we got into that, so I might rejoin that. Let's see, anger. First time I went out buffering, I kept getting hit in the head or other sensitive places, but I never got angry because that would have just been sloppy. I don't fight angry. Yes, yes, yes. If you are angry and you are in anything that you can walk away from it. Because it is so easy to, in anger, destroy a relationship, destroy your life destroy. Look at Will, and look at all that him having that slap has cost him thus far. Regardless of how you feel about the action, there are consequences, and he is feeling them. Understand that. And what if you are angry, understand that you need to cool down and step past it, or if you can't not get angry, if you can't just and just kind of ground out, let it go. Yes, that's a scientific term. You know, step away from the field, have something cold. I got in trouble when I was training to be an SCA marshal because I broke up fights. And people got mad at me. They're like, "What are you doing?" He's too angry. What? His form's fall into crud. They're wailing at it. Somebody's going to get hurt. And that's because I'm really good at reading people. They didn't like that. I don't do that anymore. But on my, in my list field, I will dang sure break a fight if I see anger or a manifestation of other trauma. I have several students over the years who are combat veterans. They have PTSD. If you know body language, you can see when an individual stops bless, a lot of them are Marines, some of them are soldiers, but that you will see the moment from they go from an individual who's sparring to a soldier. The body changed. It's to someone who's trained in observation like I am. It's like screaming a battle cry to me, and I'll split to make sure everybody's calm back down because we don't need a trained Hulk mode, and I don't want them to lose that. They spent years developing that as a survival strategy. And in the event that is needed again, it's a tool in their box. But you got to know how to use it. It's like carrying around a sledgehammer. A sledgehammer can solve all your problems. But as Confucius was quoted saying, only when a mosquito lands on your do you realize that violence isn't always the answer. So that's what I encourage. Let's keep going down. Anger and fighting just makes me determined, and you know how stubborn I can be. That's a different kind of anger than what I'm talking about, and it still has to be watched carefully. I've fallen into that too, where it's like, oh, we're on now. But that's a positive routing, and it's still controlled. It's optimal to avoid that because I feel less guilty for things I have done as cold, calculated decisions than I've done in emotional reaction. Because what if I lash out, even justified, it is a double loss to me because I lost both the situation and my control of it. JK, so you're getting hit on the head, then the other head. Yeah, I've been there. I was listening to Guy Windsor the other day about time in his sword fighting life where he got ahead would okay, I'm sorry, my dyslexia is acting up. Give me a second. I was listening to Guy Windsor the other day about time in his early life where he got ahead because he talked someone into sparring who was tired, anxious, and unfocused. All right. Woo! That's something to talk about. I despise metagaming, tournament-wise or stuff. Is it valid? Yes. It is totally. Can you win that way? Certainly. I despise it to my core. And this is my paladin flag flying really, really high, folks. But if you are engaged in some kind of skill-based tournament and you're using those skills, if you're manipulating someone, that way. That's metagaming outside of it, and it's not fair. And what I mean by that is I've always treated tournaments, when I fought in them, as they are a test of abilities. Now, it's very different. Now, you get me in a melee, the whole world's a different place. Now it's a tactical application. It's a group setting. And I've got somebody whose back I'm protecting. Because that's the only reason I would be there. So I fight very differently, and I have a much more ruthless mindset for that. But in tournament, doing things like that, I applaud the practicality and the ruthlessness, but it also overlaps with sportsmanship. And that gets back to the why are we fighting? Why are we doing this? If this is a sparring situation, I want to see how good I am. Okay. Every tourney I walked into wasn't about me beating the other people. It was about seeing how good I am and finding out where I could do better. And a couple times what I found out about was I called shots, other people just didn't call shots. And I had to decide, was it worth it? And I decided no. Bad form isn't worth it to me. But yeah, I see, and that's not me bashing Guy Windsor, of course not. It's me having a philosophical difference. And we have to have those. I respect that. I may or may not have targeted some people in similar ways. Now, see, that's a different thing, too. That's your intent. And there is much to be said for leveling the playing field. So that's the kind of thing I wouldn't do out of no necessity, for the heck of it. But if there's a logic behind it, or heaven help me, if there's a measure of justice that's required, then it may become necessary to play some games, which is different. Yes, Johnny, and is what painful. Yep. Unpleasant shots to one, you should wear a cup. We're going to take a PSA for a moment. If you guys are out there swinging stick-like objects and you're not wearing a cup, you're a moron. I'm sorry, that's dumb. I don't care if it's a boffer. Wear a cup. And you should wear chest protection. I'm a big fan of, I'm pointing at it like it's over there, but wear a plastron. I had my ribs cracked and ripped off my sternum because I wasn't wearing one because it wasn't required. No one thought you needed it. Wear a plastron. Ladies and men, believe it or not, it has been scientifically proven that repeated blows to breast tissue can cause cancer. Wear a breast protection. Okay? Molded, not the discs. Cover yourself, keep yourself safe. Because whatever we're doing, okay, whether it's practicality or it's fun sparring, folks, the goal at the end of the day is for everyone to go, be done at the end of practice, and be safe. The safety has to be the first and last and primary goal. Then have a good time or learn something depending on what you're doing. Optimally both. I can be greedy. But wear protection. Gorget, breast or chest protection, cup. Ladies, they have a stuff called the Jill. You want protection too. It can be a little trickier to get, but protect yourself from the skin out. Armor well. I'm going to have to do that video. It's coming up time for me to do another talk on basic armor. The pen is mightier, Trebek. Yes. The pen is mightier than the sword. Yes. There's an old Celebrity Jeopardy about that, which I recommend you look up. Every time I got him to fight, subconsciously went for grappling. I couldn't get myself to do any striking. That's what you know. Optimally, if you're hand to hand, you want strikes, kicks, and grapples. Okay? That trio. I've seen that trio done a lot of ways where it was, boxing, to boxing, kickboxing, and American wrestling. I've seen where they rotate BJJ into there, where you throw Muay Thai into there, and then Sangbo. The trick is you want all three pillars to be held for a sparring match. I don't like grappling. Okay, I got it. Because so much of my open hand is so influenced by therapeutic defense. Excuse me. Which means when you're dealing with the mentally handicapped, physically handicapped, medical settings, things like that, that's where I got my most, outside of growing up, certainly as an adult, my most open-handed experience was dealing with that scenario. So there's a lot of light grappling, disarms, and avoidance. That's kind of my personal bread and butter, which is a really odd angle at it. I have no problem with grappling. Just don't try that stuff when there's two opponents, because until MMA starts doing group matches, like 2-on-2s, you're not going to have that taught. But if it's 1-on-1, a good grappling guy can tap submit somebody out. If you can get the blood choke them out and not kill them, that's formidable, or dislocate a joint, etc. Just be careful. And always train. Train. You'd be surprised how many times I get surprised or frightened and I reach for my sword on my hip that isn't there. Yep. That is a startle reflex. Wonderful thing to do if you're in an area where you think a group of people are armed and they aren't, drawn actively. Drop something and watch who reacts. Ex-cops, bless their hearts, their hands go to weapon retention almost every time. Bam, that hand goes down there. Military, the appendix carry guys, that shirt they'll start to flash their belly when they're appendix carrying. It is so funny how many people's hands will go for a weapon when startled. Hey, that happens. I understand. When swinging a stick, protect your stick. Your lips to God's ears, Johnny. That's brilliant. Plus, you get a cod piece. It's like another weapon. I may know of a paladin who had a blessed cod piece, and during the Attitude Era of the WWF at the time, was of the habit of grabbing shorter zombies and just bamming their skulls on his holy blessed cod piece as a weapon. I've been a gamer for a long time. Oh! Lurker mode! Sydney Kemp has dropped her cloak like a Romulan in our mix. God bless you, Sydney. So good to hear from you. The discs for breast coverage were never where they were supposed to be when I was doing the college fencing thing. They're never. I have spoken to people who have had a scissor wound as they're moving and compressing, they take a shot and the discs overlapped flesh in that area. So they'll always go the one piece. I don't know how many of the discs have fallen out of favor for that practice, because of that situation. But I'll always run it. I understand that too. The other thing is, Johnny, you're an artist. You have artist hands. You don't want to ruin artist hands. That's why you need, At least a saber hilt. You know, get your punch in with the guard, hit with the metal. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't do that in real fight sparring, guys. I mean, what am I talking about? My favorite weapons aren't light and stuff. Look up ale knives sometime. Anyway. Even if they were, Cindy, a couple of years ago, my boobs wouldn't have been where they were supposed to. Yeah, they're for the proportions of some of the women I know, they might as well have been wearing, well, let me put it this way. You know, Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, his helmet and his dad's are match set made out of his mom's old brassiere, breastplate. Yeah. Yeah, guys, please don't forget to hit like and share. Like and subscribe for yourself, because I do this weekly. I'm also, it's getting nice. I would have shot some stuff today, but I had to go to the neurologist, and you guys understand. But share this. Like it, subscribe, and share it around to people and in groups you know who might benefit from what we talk about or have interest in it. I tend to grab my purse. That thing is a weapon. Absolutely. And I've known several ladies who had, known some who carried bricks in their purse. Literal, just drop a brick in there. Metal plate. Yeah, it's heavy. What? Donk. I don't like flail weapons, but I respect their application. As long as you aren't swinging your stick, that's a whole different sort of. No, good, no. Anyway, moving on. Hey, Cindy, I hope I was able to help you with the fan form. That was, guys. If you aren't on the Historical Fencing Guild public group and you watch this show, why not? Please join. It's a great place for martial artists to discuss, because that's what the guild's supposed to be. A meeting ground of martial artists from different disciplines who love weapons to talk about what works for them, what doesn't. I wrote this book, this one, to be a Rosetta Stone so that people from different traditions could read it and be able to talk in the same basic verbiage. So please join up. And yes, that video was really cool. Just kick them in the jimmies. That doesn't always work. And once it doesn't work, some person, once it doesn't work, you're in a world of trouble. But it can work incredibly effectively. I'd be lying if I said I haven't from time to time. But that was combative engagement, not sword-based sparring. Yep, it could take a lot of practice to get that thing flipped around and caught. Yeah, but you're going there. Punch daggers, Johnny, katars, patas, meridian axes. If you want that strike, gauntlets. You guys are overthinking it. Gauntlets are beautiful things. The two chucks count a gauntleted punch to the face as a killing blow. And when the two chucks say a killing blow, you know it's devastating. Glad to hear it, Cindy. That was me. I was K-Cup. Thank goodness for the reduction. Totally worth it. Well, I'm just happy you're happy. I have a comment dump. Let me do this so I can see how much I have. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm glad it helped you. Sometimes such things are necessary. That's why it was developed. I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually use the discs. There are places that sell those a lot of places sell those boob plates that just direct force from attacks straight to a person's sternum. I've seen those, and a lot of it depends on the fit and the rigidity of the boob plate. Because it's one of those, I prefer breastplates not to be, if possible, fitted, because the dome shape deflects more. But I've also seen that most female breastplates that I've seen, the force still is fairly well deflected, and you still should be wearing padding under any breastplate. The chest plates I found distribute the force a lot better than you would think, because the whole piece, and I've taken some really, and that's just in a plastron. I've seen a few discs over the years. It's one of those. I will always be vigilant because I don't want people hurt. But you make a point. That's why you pad. Hard over soft, people. Gambesons are your friends. Early night. Hold on. Okay, wait. It actually jumped. That's the thing. That's the thing, thesis. I don't want to hurt them until I realize that. And you know what? That's called the lizard brain. I train a lot of women, and a lot of women do not want to hurt their friends. So you have to kind of build past that concept of, one, everybody's armored. It's safe. We are using tools that are safe enough that you can train, and you're training to protect yourself and your friends, not hurt them. That's why the philosophy can be so important. It's interesting you say that. I literally just joined Discord this week for an upcoming video appearance. I've never been on Discord before. I think I have like 2 posts total to my name, but I will put out the information if Discord is your jam and try to do that. It would be nice to have a fallback in case something with Facebook went because I've had that happen. Proceed side character though. Johnny, whereas it may not be practical on the field, and I will acknowledge that when asked, fantasy armor can be just that. It can be fantastic. Don't feel bad about what you've drawn because it's fantastic. I draw mecha all the time, okay? Not very well, but I draw mecha. And I draw fantasy clothes and fantasy armor, and much of that isn't practical. You could go on my DA site and see that. And that's something we can talk about, but never feel bad. And I would never shame somebody for how they draw their stuff. That's not who I am. Plus, your stuff looks too awesome to hide, Johnny. Okay, yes, they had. Here is a big problem. Many male armorers do not know how to armor for the female body. That's my favorite part of the Armored Rose by Toby Beck. Must read, folks. I actually need to get another copy because I had one walk. Is that it talks about where the points of articulation on women are, how the wrists move differently, how strikes move differently. To my wife, whom I love, has knees that are about this wide till she kneels. And then her knees nearly double in width. That is because the way the musculature on a woman's leg sits when they kneel, there's stuff on the sides. So to get knees that work can be very, very challenging. And her previous armorers did some harm onto her because they didn't know better. They tried their best. This isn't a shot. And you can tell it isn't a shot because I'm not naming names. But I have the highest respect for those people. But it's a different mechanic. And somewhere I have a notepad where I designed bidirectionally articulated female knees. I need to find that and really try to make up a proxy set to see how that works. But in your case, yeah, the problem is if you have pockets and you put the discs in, the boobs are going to move where the boobs move. So you either need something that protects the whole region and is fitted, or you need something that, well, yeah, that's basically the only solution. Men with cups have run into this problem too. One of my co-fencers, one of my fencers, a lady who instructed me a good bit by the name of Jody Kingerly, Jody Houghton now. I'm sorry, it's been many years. I was at their wedding. I don't know why. She specialized in a two-weapon style that involved poking the cup sideways and with one sword and poking under it with the other as a response for men who threw shots too hard. I don't justify it, but I'm impressed with the precision it takes and the armor gapping that can be done. That's why for men, I'd say do not wear the jockstrap style of cup holder. Okay? Wear the kind that look like bike shorts. It's much, much, much safer. There are iron rings that a friend of mine uses to add force behind his punches. It hurts. I bet. I know of iron rings. I'm an old kung fu movie guy. Of course, I know of iron rings. Yeah, there are several ways where you're adding connect. I don't like it. Sometimes the problem is when they're made out of metal, the whole unit moves. They don't flex in and bend. Some of the more molded ones can flex in. I really recommend, in that case, extra padding in the cleavage. Okay, for lack of a better term, putting perhaps some close-up foam on the inside in the narrow part to add extra compression as a backing versus just doing as is. And that's one thing. Modern fencing equipment is not made to prevent impact. It is made to prevent penetration by a broken blade. Trigger, fencing jackets, all that are all for if the tip fails on a sword somehow, you don't get run through, which is a noble and important thing. But especially when you get to something like a heavy rapier style, okay, this is a rapier. This is a short rapier. It's only 30, and I need to clean it up a bit. But it can put a tremendous amount of force on a small area without breaking or damaging the weapon. That will transfer right through the 4 layers of trigger or 1 layer of ballistic nylon, as I used to run around in, and then whatever else on top. This is why if I were involved in the SCA, I would be doing a massive push to change the rapier armor standards. I don't believe they're safe. That's part of why I'm not back. With the extremely whippy lighter weapons that you see in collegiate fencing, it's safer. But I still am a little dubious. I wouldn't wear anything less than a coach's style jacket for pretty much any style fencing, and much heavier. I'd like to see things like the martial arts pads, like Muay Thai and things incorporated. But that's me being extra protective. Leather or leather's beautiful. Oh, look, I fixed that situation that happened last week. Isn't that nice? Anyway, got a little warm under the hat. Leather is beautiful, but it can warp. It can molder. I have some beautiful leather Lorica segmentata I can't get at. Actually, I have to talk my wife into cleaning because I'm allergic to the mold that grew on it. Natural leather will mold easily. It's a sign of healthy leather that the moisture's still there, but it can be problematic. So I like the fabric and plastic rigs that exist that are a little more forgiving in use. I can help you with it if you need. I've been on there a while. Oh, Discord. Oh, we may talk. There was a video on where he talked about the stupidity of booby armor, but he took it down. Shad is very hit or miss. I am surprised he took that down, probably due to the risque nature. He probably got a strike. YouTube is really hardcore on larger channels about such things. Talk to me more, Joe, if you need app icons. Just talk to me. You tell me the pixel size, and I will doctor up something else if you need something else. Just color gradients with text. That's an icon. It works, but get some. Oh Lord. I love my chat. You never know what's going to come out of my chat, and that's delightful. Yeah. Armor folks need to study. Well, they need to study female anatomy without being. The hips on a woman. Guys like the way women walk. Guess what? Their hips are shaped differently. That means when you armor for the hips, you have to do a different waist and different hip articulations to fit a woman. If you're going to armor women, study them. Don't just slap them in, well, this is big guy armor. It won't work. You can't take a box or an inverted triangle and shove it on an hourglass and have it fit. Sorry. I am passionate because I love my wife, but I would see she would get more damage when she was fighting from her armor bites, from where the buckles dug in, or plates shifted and pinched things, than the fighting itself. Exactly. Why not? It's okay. I'm sorry. I need to read this out loud for anyone who uses me like a podcast. Sydney kept. It seems strange that suppliers are willing to vacuum form chest protection to separate boob pockets, but nobody's a reasonable single dome thing. Yeah, a single dome or a mono boob, even, where you have a valley but it's not a sharp crease, can work. And if you look at what the real fighters who do like live steel, women jousters and things, where it's a fitted dome thing. So now, for some of the ladies of a certain bust size, this is why we need better armors. We need to breed better armors. I at one point was really working towards being one, and I fell out of favor. It's one of the great tragedies of what could have been. We still need Foxy and maybe your lovely wife. Yes. I desperately want to get Foxy and Amanda and Trelana. Maybe Stephanie if she gets more fights under her belt, but she will be recovering from a pregnancy soon. So she hopefully has a kid coming. And I say that just because I've had so many friends have problems. I leave wiggle room. I hope you understand. But and get Cindy Kep, and I know I have some others in my circle who I should be able to reach out to. And I'll open to more. And I want to have a ladies roundtable where they talk about what they want, and then I'll give them the option where either I will, as a host, stay on and mediate the panel, or just hop off and run from hop to the background, put them all up, and run it from behind the scenes. But yes, I think it would be very good to get women of different backgrounds discussing what they need in weapons and training and armor, their challenges, their successes. It's really, really on my to-do list. that could be dangerous. Absolutely. Knowledge is wrong. Knowledge is power. Power corrupts. Be be evil. Study hard. Be evil. No, I won't call it wine and weapons for a couple reasons. Not a shot on you guys, but part of what I do is this is a dry site, and yes, I don't drink. I don't judge others who do. However, I have never approved of an overlap of martial arts and alcohol. I think it's a very dangerous mix. And a lot of the people who come to me have backgrounds with substance abuse. So they know that it is a safe place where they won't have to deal, certainly with anything illicit, and no alcohol as well. And that's one of those, if it bugs people, I apologize. I don't mean it as an insult or disrespect. I'm certainly not trying to hamper anyone having a good time, but it is to make what we do safe in a different but very important way. I hope you all understand that. Seriously. Single dome, almost barrel chase guy with proper padding would be better. And for women who have that feasibility, absolutely. Some women, it's funny because I tend to get women who are usually either very, very, very busty or very, slender and elfin, waif life, not terribly busty. I don't get a lot of in between. It's just one of those things I've noticed. And I think it really takes tailoring. And that option should be there. And I'd be more than happy to help explore within reason, how to do that to the point of possibly even getting plastic and doing, shape studies for the females who come out. And when I say female, I mean biologically female. I'm not anti anyone else. I don't want, because I had somebody come to me and they were concerned about how I felt about trans people because I was talking about the female biology. Where I'm talking is the female skeletal and muscular alignment. It, traditionally, it isn't a shot on anybody. It doesn't make anybody any less or more anything else. It's just mechanics, if that makes sense, for skeletal alignment and musculature. That's it, folks. I'm not, there's no, I don't do subtext, guys. So I just want to make sure everybody's cool with that. If not, I'll be happy to talk about it through like a DM or whatever to make sure you understand. I'm not trying to be offensive. Just, I need basic terminology for the majority of my students. Everything has exceptions, and I always embrace exceptions for the exception itself. But I also have to have a system of discussion. So I hope that's understood and cleared up. Let's see. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'd almost go women and weapons because I don't think the alcohol is necessary. And besides, a delight, if it were a round table, which I would love to host, where instead of being digital, everybody's actually in a room, I would love for it to be a tea situation for the tea drinkers. The mask in collegiate fencing needs to be tied down. That was one thing the SCA got right. I ended up getting a foil blade alongside my nose, about half an inch from my eye. Yes, absolutely. Do I have it in here? Okay, I have a mask. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. This is my mask. I have another nicer new one that was donated, but this is my original one. It still has all the dings. Now, you can see the dings and creases. That was from a fencing sword that the gentleman didn't believe calibration existed for people he didn't like. So there's actually a cut, like a blow that dinged in the center crease of the mask. I've had to work this out to get it here. But collegiate fencing masks have the tongue, and it sits over the head, like so. But without the strapping, and yes, mine has a knot tied in it because it's stretched out. This is my old mask. Without that strapping, so I'm going to pop that. And with the more smaller bibs that were possible, it's possible to get a blade up and get very eye pokey. We don't want eye pokiness. This is why fencers wear a hood in the SCA, at least in the mid realm, that covers here to help prevent the shots. Because I've had so many hard shots will go up right here between the gorget and then into the base of the jaw, which is very soft, tender, the underside of your tongue, all that good stuff, and nearly turned me into Timothy Dalton from Hot Fuzz. I'd like some ice cream. Okay? So, yes. That's very valid. Yes, study them. And that is one of the hardest aspects. Ironically, again, jokingly, it is very difficult for me as a rather civilized, perhaps criminally polite person to armor or train women without a lot of, I talk about what I'm doing. Okay. So if I have to make physical contact, I'll go, I'm going to touch your arm here. Are we okay? Cool. I'm going to do this. Are we okay? And it's very, until a rhythm is found, because I always stop. Consent is so key. So yeah, we're studying them, and it's easy to make the jokes. But when you're fitting armoring, you have to be able to, like, I'm sorry, I need to reach past your groin to tie a strap or check a strap's fit for you. And it can be very, very personal. And understanding that and doing it with respect. And if not, that's one of the reasons I love having Trelena around, because I know, Trelena, will you check the fit on that? We've worked together, and she can do it, and I don't have to worry both about looking inappropriate or any allegations, because that's part of how I have to protect myself. This is why I very rarely train anyone alone, and why, for my own safety, I prefer to video record fencing or training sessions, just so that there can be no issues or allegations or misunderstandings. Oh no, it was very catchy and very charming, actually. And in anybody else's situation, it would have been the absolute right answer. It's just part of the strange rules I have to operate by because of who I am and who I help with. Straight Edge Society for the win. Yeah, that's pretty good too. Best part of Roundtable of folks just mentioned, it's a good, diverse group. And that's one thing I want. I want people of multiple backgrounds, ages, physical builds, disciplines. Exactly. And that's what I encourage. A lot of what Joe's hitting at, I encourage cross-training between styles. So that's why we have Salat guys with knife fighters against Krav Maga guys. And they both got knife trainers. They understand the rules. Sometimes for individuals, we have different rules. Like, okay, you both are comfortable with going to the ground. All right, we're on as soft a setting. Understand? Everybody be careful. You're both very trained. We can do this safely. Blah, blah, blah. Verse, okay, we're doing buffers with you guys, no headshots, whatever, to work through people who are LARPing and they don't want to develop training scars for things that are legal with us but not legal where they play. That sort of thing. But I will still make them train against headshots because headshots happen. A Sabaton could get through it. Now, see, that is interesting. So I need to check something right now because I want to make sure my definition is right. Well, yeah, I mean, if you have an armored boot and you kick an armored cup, enough force is likely to transfer to cause problems. And see, I learned a lot of vocabulary from people who didn't know what they were talking about, so I always double check what's in the deep files. But and you know what? You would not be the only one that we spar with who has that perspective. Well, you have to alter your teaching style. Okay, this says, no kidding, I have two students, Foxy, who's short, sturdy, busty, and not much of an athlete, and Kitty, who is a little taller, lithe, smaller, busted, a dancer. I have to alter your teaching style. Here's the thing. Different fighters fight differently. We are not mass producing martial education. You want to join a military, you get that. We are teaching individualized, focused, and adaptive training, which means what all that's in the book isn't for everybody. And that's why I break people down by classes, both for the process of analyzing how they choose to fight and the process of how their opponents fight, so that you can get that. So they're going to fight differently. They're going to need different styles of training, and neither is superior or inferior. It's just different. I mean, sometimes you have vanilla ice cream, sometimes you have Rocky Road. Both are good on a hot day. Do I happen to have a trident and a net handy? I don't usually train with entanglement devices because the idea, it is so easy to twist or roll a joint or do the joint damage in that is not something I usually play with. I haven't had anybody choose to. Now, trident, for the most part, is going to act just like a short spear. I'm all about short spears. And I really think that can help. Let's see. Got a bolt. Have a great night. You know what? Thank you so much for stopping by, Ryan. I hope it was educational and at least entertaining. Have a nice night. Let's see. In the SCA, I had a hood mask tied around it, tongue and back, around my neck outside the mask gorget tied around the back. 0 foils in the face mask. Absolutely. And for foil fighting, that style of armor is sufficient. For epes, it's sufficient. For fencing sabers, mostly sufficient. For a heavy schlager or a wide rapier blade, I don't think that's sufficient because that doesn't protect against the impact enough to be safe. These are cut and thrust weapons. We need cut and thrust style armoring, in my opinion. I'm certainly unique. And it's funny because you're unique in several ways that I have several people in my world who that has overlapped over the years. Because it's funny when you start getting that the right kind of people have similar mentalities. You know, my favorite drug is caffeine tea, mostly getting into the hard stuff, energy drinks. I used to be a caffeine fiend, actually, until a few months ago when my neurologist gave me meds that don't play nice with caffeine. And I was given the choice hideous, slashing, burning electrical pain in my peripherals or no caffeine. So I have been caffeine free now for a few months. But that being said, have a coffee for those of us who can't, or a tea. I do have some nice non-caffeinated teas I've been exploring lately. Sabaton is an awesome metal band, but I don't think they're enough to get through a cup. Smack on the back of the head. Exactly. That's why I said limited. And yes, there are several overhoods, aventails, assorted devices that you can purchase to go on the back of a fencing mask or pre-modified fencing masks if that's when you're talking saber, you're definitely talking wrap shot. Let me grab a SSO. Okay, cool. We got our. I really prefer something a little more single-edged. And my single-edged toys are out in the living room because I was drilling with them. Okay, so we'll use this. Okay. And we need a head. I conveniently have a spare head. Okay. Okay. A wrap shot, I'm going to be back here, comes around and strikes the back of the head. Let me get you guys a good angle. Bam. Okay. This is the edge facing me. It comes, it circumnavigates, and hits. When you're receiving it, that means it comes, circumnavigates, and hits. This is made possible by certain ligaments in your wrist that make it much easier to do this. Women can do wrap shots much easier than men because the ligaments work that way. In standard, about 95% of women have female wrists. We've gone into this. I can go again. But yes, if wrap shots are going to be a problem, something more than a hood is a very good idea. That's what happened to Guy Windsor. He took a shot on the top of the head from a rapier. I think it dented his mask and split open his skull. That is very possible depending on the age of the mask, the type of the mask, and the type of weapon being used against him. I haven't heard that, but I don't find that unsurprising. Like I said, I have my primary SCA mask, and it's still, after years of working it out, has. Let me see if I can get. There we go. You can see that there's still a ding from a sword like this as a cutting blow, as a not even just a straight chop by somebody who was mortally offended. It was actually my first instructor whose name I don't drop because he doesn't deserve press, good or otherwise. Well, something hit one of my drums. I probably could use any weapon for a short period of time given strength, but ease means shorter weapons. Foxy, if you have the money, get yourself one of these. At least one, if not two. Yes, it is Sting. Yes, it's by either Ja Wu or Wu Ja. This is a great, just get yourself one. You won't regret it. I'd kind of like to have about 4 of them. It will fit. The hand diameter is very comfortable. The grip diameter for me, which is really rare. I'm actually going to be modifying some of my weapons, experimenting, and I may destroy them in the process to make the grips narrow enough that my hands will work on them. But this one is pretty much ideal. It could be slightly narrower, but it's positive grip. It's a great weapon. Inexpensive. Just get yourself one. My dear Hobbit girl, you won't regret it. Let's see. think I'd like the show. Think you'd like the show I'm watching. It's set during the Warring States period, but literally every person uses a short jin. Well, they were common. Short swords are a whole lot easier to use anyway than longer swords. They're easy to draw. I'm surprised there's a lack of Dao during the Warring States period, but I can understand that jin look more Chinese to a lot of people, whereas a Dao often gets mislabeled a katana by people who don't understand what they're looking at. He talked about it last on his podcast. If you want, I can send a link to the. Please do. But if it's a free podcast, please put it up there. Guys, I'm not one of those people who come to you and saying this is the only channel you should watch. Absolutely not. I recommend several. I'll always tell you, Sword Sage, if you want in-depth discussion on Jin, talk to Sword Sage. Tell him I sent you. He's a good guy. I think Shad is a cultural necessity. Well, that all fell. Skull and Gladiatoria, the Metatron, Lindy Beige, these are all classic. I have a new one, however, the name I believe is German. My speech impediment cannot wrap around it, so I will try to find it again, and I'll probably share it out on the Historical Fencing Guild list, because it's a lot of practicals, and he's a younger guy, so he does things that I like that maybe I can't pull off right now due to physical limitations and just simply aging out. Which is fine, because I'm all about different groups. I do not dislike longswords. I own several. I can fight them. I really wish that our dear friend Out of the Woods hadn't just left. Meyer longsword is his specialty. And he's a delightful person and a delightful fighter. Look through some of our older videos. Just a great guy. But yes. Right, Johnny? Yeah. I mean, I could make one go in an emergency, but not my choice. Absolutely. Rarely would I take a longsword. Although, I mean, this little dude is a Nick scale longsword, so that counts for something, almost. And what I mean is, this is for me, ding, hand and a half. So I could actually wield this. This is live steel. It is a quality Pakistani blade that that was purchased, I believe, from Benny on my AOA. And I quite love this weapon, don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorites, both in balance and function. But it's also got like a 30-inch blade because I'm short. Absolutely. Now, because I believe in scaling my weapons to me. That's why my favorite sword, basically ever, is my Spanish Bilbao. Well, okay. My favorite live fencing sword is my Spanish cup hilt rapier. My favorite live steel, let me move this, lives right here. It is not shiny. It is a little shorter than the longsword. Let me get it in screen. But I adore the balance on this weapon. And I wish I had a match set, because it does have an offset hilt, so it does have handedness in a practical construction, as in sturdy enough to fight with. I mean, I would love to scale me to a weapon. A couple extra inches would be nice, LOL. Hey, just because you got to perfection early, don't let the tall people get down on you. But, that, folks, yeah. I want you guys to really work towards, if you're a woman especially, or you're working with them, make sure to tailor to their needs. And guys, don't poo-poo, because a lot of women are hesitant to bring problems because they're not taken. Well, let's see if this will do. Boop. One silver lining is I don't knock my head on things. This is true. This is true. 3 cheers for the vertically challenged. But yep, we're actually 20 minutes past the hour. And while I'm doing better than I have been, as you can see, my hands are only moderately puffy. And this is after some pretty extreme stuff. So I'm doing pretty well. I am going to call it because I don't want to overdo it. And I do have some matters that I need to address. So I want to thank you guys. The Historical Fencing Guild is made possible largely by my Patreon members, which almost everybody on this chat is one of my Patreon members. And you guys, I list you at the beginning of every show. You are a light in the darkness, and you let me afford to buy trainers to discover ones that might work. Oh, that reminds me, Foxy, you might like this. This is a cold steel training knife. I can't remember the model. But if you take a screenshot, here, I'll hold it. Anyway, you can look this up online. And for you, Foxy, this is nearly a messer. Because it's this long. Oops, here we go. It's this long on me. Your reach is probably a little shorter than mine. This would be a great short sword, and you can get these for around $9 if you shop around. You can also get a keyhole grip very positively for training purposes. I still like to keep my hand under the guard as a rule, but this is a very nice. No, it isn't a K-bar. Their K-bar, hold on. I do have a K-bar trainer. Looks like this. And this would work very well for Foxy too. But the grip's a little big. I find this coffin-shaped textured grip to be very, very pleasant for the smaller hands. It locks well. A lot of trainers, because it's funny, my K-bar trainer is larger than my actual K-bar knife. Although this is the Air Force model, this is the little guy. But I'm a little guy, and this knife has saved my life, so I will never disparage it. Unfortunately, I never get the thumbnails right on these things. That is one of the things I'm working on. And okay, let's go. Have a great night. Been a great weekend. Thanks for hosting. Bayonet or K-bar? I think I covered that. Thumbnail face. You should screenshot that and art it up. Oh, I'm not. If Johnny decided to do fan art of me, I'd be just lost, because that's just. Yeah, I don't have an ego to process something that cool, to be honest. I draw people and then I hide in the shadows. That's how I operate. The only reason I can do shows like this is I'm helping teach people. It short circuits my imposter syndrome. But folks, the Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you first and foremost by my Patreon. I love you guys. And if you want to join, the tiers right now are kind of junk. If you join up and you want me to design you a device, that's one of the tiers. If you there are a couple other tiers that are floating around. They need to be reworked. I'll talk to the Patreon people themselves what they want in tiers. But you have this. They also get to see the simple spear that's in the works. The fighting axe and the simple sword are both available through Amazon at fairly low prices. This one has to be more expensive because it's a big book, and because Amazon counts that as a full color page, and if you have one full color page, you have all full color pages. So I actually make very little on any of my books, but it's about getting the information out there. This is much cheaper on your end and mine, so I'm going to keep to this format for a while. But I still get some nice hand-drawn, where we're talking about axes. You can also, if you know Luke Stone, you know hybrids. Guys, he's got his campaign going. Look him up. But also, I did the Storming the Gates of Heck, Episode 1, the role-playing game. This is the quick play version of the Hybrids role-playing game. I'm waiting to hear back from my editor with him and proofreader, and then they'll start doing the layouts. We're expecting the full game to be out in time for Christmas. So look into this. And if you like blowing stuff up, guys, look into the Big Stompy Robots. It's a great game with, the quick play version is 99 cents. You can even get it as an app at the App Store through Joe Bachman's stuff, where almost the whole game is playable from an app. You'll just need a ruler and minis. Not even the dice, because he factored it in. But I also, in that universe, are 2 books, a little bit of sci-fi, peppering of both humor and horror, because if the words zombie mechs from outer space don't stir you a little bit, maybe you don't know me that well. But folks, other than that, guys, hydrate, okay? Keep your guard up. Do your drills. Be kind to yourselves and each other. And as always, folks, thank you so much for supporting your local Swordmaster. I will see you next week. Oh, wait! Boom, boom, boom! Last minute. Breaking news. Let me pull out my calendar. I will be appearing on the Radio Retrofit Future program on YouTube at 2 p.m. to about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be 8 to 9 in Amsterdam, which hosts it. I believe we're talking RPGs, role-playing games, not rocket-powered grenades. And I will be on Dispatches from Beyond the Box on the Raging 2 network, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday, May 3rd. I will announce this again more often, but I will be showing up there. I'm also every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. I'm on Nerd Bacon with my co-host Luke Stone of Hybrids the Sons of God, where we talk campaigns and stuff. So there's good stuff coming. Who doesn't like to lob a rocket here and there? And guys, I'm talking in jest or in Big Stumpy Robots. Lock on Ballistics. Folks, look this. If you do tabletop warfare, look this up. And if you like sci-fi, look up my novels and stuff. All of that and a few other things and more stuff in the works on my Amazon page. So go there and enjoy it. But guys, have a good night. I've already done my sign out. I just didn't want to forget that. Toodles.